righty. Well, I am a grateful man. I'm very grateful. I could very easily be sitting here grieving my poor old Rocky cat right now. But instead, he's inside napping on his pillow, just like he's done for so long. Instead of being over yonder in a hole that I dug for him today. You know, God stepped in and did a miracle, and a lot of that has to do with people praying for him. You know, I honestly believe that. I want to talk a little bit about gratitude because, you know, I'm a guy that on the surface of it, you wouldn't think that I have a whole lot to be grateful for. But you'd be wrong. If you feel that way, you'd be wrong. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. I've suffered some terrible losses for sure. And I'm having a bad time trying to get my way up out of this, you know. It's far easier to fall into a pit than it is to claw your way back up out of it. And I fell into a pit. Basically, that's what happened. I fell into a pit. Now, I had a bit of help. There were some people pushing me. You know, it wasn't just me falling in. I had some help getting in there. But in the end, bottom line is I ended up in a pit. However, I got into it. And now I got to get out of it. And that's tough. That's really tough. But let's just look at everything that's gone on. When I was growing up, you know, my parents were kind of dysfunctional people. They both were. But they weren't bad people. They weren't evil people. And in fact, they were both good people. They were both good, decent people. But they were dysfunctional because they were both carrying around a lot of stuff. You know, and of course that made life hard for me. But, you know, the fact that my parents weren't evil, some people have evil parents. I didn't have evil parents. I just had, I don't know, you could say screwed up parents, really. But profoundly screwed up. But they weren't evil. I was pretty lucky because I know of cases where children being raised by evil people. And those children, I'll tell you, they suffer. I suffered too, but I didn't suffer like those kids would suffer, you know. And my parents did give me some good grounding in many ways in terms of morality and stuff like that. My dad was a hard worker. He was honest. He was honest in his business dealings. He paid his bills. He had principles. He used to tell me, well, you know, when you're a man and you get into a fight, you know, you don't kick a man when he's down. If you knock the other guy down, don't let him up, because if you let him up, you know, he may do you some harm. But don't kick him. Don't kick a man when he's down. And my dad, I remember one time he told me, if there's times in your life when you find yourself out of work, don't go to the barber shop for a haircut on a Saturday, because Saturday is the only day the working man can get his hair cut. Don't take that time, you know, as that's the only day the working man has to do all his running around is Saturday. And of course, in those days, everything was closed on Sunday because there was in Ontario, Canada, we had a law called the Lord's Day Act. And that required that practically everything close up on Sunday, you know. Now, personally, I think that's a good thing. We should probably go back to it. But we did have that back then. So Saturday was the only day a lot of the time for a working man to do the things he needed to do. So my dad used to say, look, if you're working and you go when you need to go, and Saturday is your day to go, you go. But if you're not working and you could go any day of the week, then don't go on Saturday. You see, my dad had those kinds of principles, and he passed those on to me. And I'm lucky for that. And my mom was a good-hearted person. She was neurotic. She was fearful. She was unreasonable. hard to please, and on like that, and could be very harsh. But she was also good-hearted, and she meant well, and she really couldn't help being that way. That was just right in her to be that way, and she wasn't that way out of maliciousness. She was that way just because that's how she was. And it was just as hard on her, I think, as it was on us, really. It can't be very fun to be in that mind space all the time. It's certainly not fun to deal with somebody when they're in that mind space. So I can't imagine it's fun to be in that mind space. But my mother, who actually is still alive, is a good-hearted person. Hard to deal with at times, but a good-hearted person. Who tries to do the right thing. And so, I was lucky. I had those role models that weren't perfect, but then who is perfect? But I still had some grounding there, in reality and in just, principled ideas about things and so on. My grandparents on my dad's side were wonderful people. They were like second parents to me. When things were real bad at home, I could go to my grandparents and I was safe there, and I could be a kid there. A lot of kids who are in bad situations at home don't have that. They have no place to go where they're safe. And maybe they think that they're safe in the moment, but then they find out that this person or these people just deceived them into thinking that, and they get abused wherever they thought they were going to be safe. They get abused there. I was very fortunate to have my dad's parents in my life for so many years, even up into my adulthood. My grandma died when I was 20, and my grandpa died when I was 28. I was very fortunate to know them, and they also instilled really good values in me. Like I say, over the years, I've had a lot of conflict with people. I've had a lot of trouble with people. I've had people prey on me. I've had people abuse me, and in any way you can think of, I've been abused. I've been physically abused, mentally abused. I've been sexually abused. All of that has happened to me over the years. But I've also met a lot of good people who went the extra mile to help me. The people who own this property where I camp. I don't want to be here. I don't like this situation. But the people who own this property where I camp, they offered me this space to camp, and they didn't have to do that. The fellow that I'm a friend of mine from my days working with the auctioneer, he reached out to me and offered me this space. He did so out of the goodness of his heart. And he's been kind to me. I mean, we have our ups and downs. We don't always get along. We're each men, and we don't always have the same ideas about things. And men tend to lock horns sometimes, But he's been a friend to me, and I'm grateful to him, and I'm grateful for him, and I'm grateful for what he's done for me. And I owe him an awful lot. There are days when I don't really like the guy very much, and there are days when he doesn't like me very much, but we are friends, and he really did go the extra mile for me, and I'm grateful for that. And see, over the years I've met so many good people. The neighbors that I work for have been very kind to me. I knew them before this situation ever occurred. It's funny because I knew their daughter too, and I didn't even know that their daughter was connected to them. I had no idea that they were related, but I knew her too, one of their daughters. And again, she's just a really, really good, decent, kind-hearted person. And, and I mean, the man over there that I work for, he's in his 80s, and he's done things and been places, and he knows things. That man is a wealth of knowledge. I could sit and just listen to him talk for hours. I really could, because the things that he tells me, the stories he tells me, and the things I've learned from him, I'm a 55-year-old man, and I'm still learning from other people, and I always will, you know. And, you know, these people, they have things of value to impart. And the lady over there has been so kind to me, you know. Like, she's just been really kind to me. And again, these people don't owe me anything, you know. Now, when I go there, I work hard and I earn my money. And I wouldn't have it any other way. And they're hiring me to do this stuff because they're at an age where they're past being able to do it. This is all stuff they'd be doing themselves, you know, but they're just not able to anymore. And so it works out good for them, and it works out good for me. I'm a good, solid, hard-working guy, and I'm honest, and I'm principled, and they can trust me. And they're just very kind, decent, wonderful people. And they need a little help over there, and they know they're going to have to hire somebody to do that work, and they hire me. And I'm lucky for that, you know. Anyway, again, it's gratitude. And there are so many people I know like that. There's a lady in town that I work for sometimes. She's not in a great situation. Her health is bad. She don't have a lot of money. I work for her sometimes, though, and we don't always agree on everything. We're kind of far apart politically in certain ways. But she's a very kind-hearted person. Just a genuinely good, decent person. And she treats me well, really. And, you know, like I say, there are so many like that I've met over the years. And see, this is the thing, you know, you can dwell on the bad, you can dwell on the bad people, you can dwell on the bad experiences, and I've met lots of bad people, and I've had lots of bad experiences. I've told you about some of them here. But I haven't really talked a lot about the good people and the good experiences. And those are equally valid, you know, and those are important. And look, I mean, I haven't driven a vehicle since 2018. I don't know if I'll ever drive again with the way things are. But I'll tell you, I'm part of that last generation that could go and buy a car for $200 and have a car on the road for next to nothing. It'd be an old car, but it'd be a good car. And, you know, you can't do that anymore. I'm part of the last generation that knew the freedom of being able to do that. You know, that's something to be grateful for. And I had some neat old cars. I had cars that would be worth a lot of money if they were around now. Some of the stuff I drove, some of the stuff I owned, and some of the stuff I drove, just to have those memories. You know, not many people can say they've driven a 1937 Pontiac. I can. Not many people now can say it anyway. I've driven old commercial vehicles from the 40s and 50s. I've driven old cars and trucks and things from the 40s and 50s, old buses. I have those skills. I know how to do all that.